How many Subarus do we have in this country that are being used to abduct people? Why don't we deploy them to go and look for those children until every child is found? We say there's nothing else that those Subarus are going to do until we first get those children. The Kenya Kwanza administration is a manifestation of how to even experiment on nonsense, on things that don't work, on things that cannot be implemented anywhere. How do you wake up and come up with a model that has not worked anywhere in the world?
Did you listen to the Hot Breakfast this morning? Here's what you missed.
I was out of town on Friday when I heard the news, the breaking news about the Endarasha Academy fire. And I'm telling you guys, I mean, yes, we've covered fires before, we've seen the stories before, but this was particularly harrowing. Obuya.
It is not the first time. You know, we had Kianguli with us here. We had Moi girls
right here.
We had Bombolulu.
We had Bombolulu. So these fires have been there. And the problem is that they happen, we make some quick decisions and then we forget about it. Even the policies that we put in place, we don't implement it. The policies that Fanyamambo is talking about, the bed capacity. You know, right now there are people who we used to sleep in double deckers. Nowadays they sleep in triple because there's no space in those schools. Because a policy of government tells you that, you know, you cannot chase away the student because there's 100% transition.
So there's triple decker.
Yeah. And that's one policy that tells you don't chase away any student because it's 100% transition. Another policy is telling you it should be double decker. You should leave space of 2.2 meters or 1.2 meters. Yeah. How do you marry these two policies in the education sector? And so I fear that Endarasha will not be the last. That's my biggest fear. That Endarasha, like Kianguli, like Bombolulu, like Moi girls, is not going to be the last.
Teachers had been on strike for a while. The students, the exams around the corner, and already they had arrived late for term 3. So are they prepared enough for those exams? There's so many mental issues, but nobody's talking about it. You're just taking maize and beans.
I think, Jeff, to start with, we still need to go back to where we are. Our schools are a disaster. A huge catastrophe, and we need to get to this. By the time you talk of congested dormitories, there is a mismatch between the school populations and even the available toilet facilities. You don't want to see the ablution facilities in these schools. They are horrible. They are deplorable. I keep saying that we have resources allocated in the wrong places. When I first spoke about what was going to the first ladies, and I thank God that we are having conversations serious about that, about 700 to each of them, which comes to about 1.4 billion. It costs about $1 million to build the classrooms. And some of these dormitories just look like classrooms. It's a hall. So would have done, with 1.4 billion, would have done at least 1,400 dormitories for children. In the various schools, that would decongest schools to a great extent. So I keep saying, it's not that this country does not have resources to invest in the education sector. What we do is we take money and put in the wrong places. Jeff, you and I spoke about bursary in this show, and I'm glad that after some time I saw a senator pick it up, and eventually it went all the way to the speaker. And I was telling people, when you have someone giving 50 million in bursary checks, and you divide that into checks of 5,000, it costs about 120 shillings to process a check. So each constituency loses 1.2 million in check processing fees.
Alone?
Yes, check processing fees that you're giving bursaries. Go and multiply that by the 290 constituencies. It's a lot of money. So what we have been saying, it's in excess of 300 million. What we have been saying is that there's money to change the way things are happening in the education sector. It's just that we have people who are clueless and unwilling. And clueless is the biggest thing. And I keep telling the president, your cabinet is failing. You chose the wrong cabinet again. Because you brought people who have brought no new idea about how they can transform anything. I mean, look at your Minister for Education. Even right now, we are yet to clearly hear his voice on the Endarasha issue.
What is his name, by the way?
We can't remember. That's the problem.
Exactly.
We have some people dying. I mean, even if we lost one child, that one child is enough for the CS for Education to come out and speak about the life of one child. Now we have lost close to 20, and nobody is saying something about it. And Jeff, it gets even more painful for parents. when you wake up and someone tells you they don't know where your child is. So we ask ourselves, if a fire came out here today, in the night, tomorrow morning there will be a few children here in Kibra, Lavington, Kileleshwa. They will be somewhere around. But the fact that so many children have disappeared just like a sneeze in the air, and nobody can account for these children, and they are not within the vicinity. And let me tell you, those rural constituencies are so good. If a child was found lost, a rural home will host that child until morning.
Correct.
Yes.
So we've not heard of, how do you explain that those children are not available? They cannot be seen. Nobody knows where they are. And that now makes the fire even a smaller issue. Because the bigger issue is when we cannot find children, and they are, I would rather it's a question of 2 or 3 cannot be found. But when there are so many who cannot be accounted for, then it becomes a huge problem.
We're just moving on with life.
That's the scariest part.
Yes. Life will endelea too. The president is busy doing, inspecting Kibra houses.
Unaffordable housing.
Because that's what matters to him most. Rigiji and Ichungu and
They're going at each other.
They're still bickering. And life is normal. We still don't know the proprietor of that school up to now.
No, we don't.
We still don't. Why is he not in handcuffs? Why? Because you can't tell me that it was a mistake for me to lose my child. At certain makosa too, we just pray and God saves us all. No, somebody must take responsibility. And for a CS even to attempt to go there and speak and then leave. CS angekuwa amekamp huko until we know all the answers. We have all the answers of what is happening, until each and every pupil has been accounted for, until each and every parent has been comforted. You can't just go there and then issue a press conference and then you say I'm done as a CS education. Now you come back to the city
and you rush back.
to we've made life so cheap.
Yeah.
And I don't want to imagine those parents, what they are going through.
How many Subarus do we have in this country that are being used to abduct people? Why don't we deploy them to go and look for those children until every child is found? We say there's nothing else that those Subarus are going to do until we first get those children. And we account for each child. Tuseme kila mzazi, at least wale wako alive, kila mzazi unitiwe na mtoto wake. The press conference they should be doing, and this is what I like about the US situation. What they do is they try to paint the happy stories.
Yeah.
Right now, what they should have been doing is bringing stories of children reunited with their mothers and fathers. First, for those who are alive, so that Kenyans can feel a sense of something is happening. So if this government was taking advice, the first thing they should have been doing is trying to identify a child who had not been found and reuniting that child with the family and making that a happy story for people to consume in the news every evening. We want to see tears of joy. Right now, we're just seeing tears of sadness.
I was in Kigali over the weekend.
Yes.
The airport that they have allowed to be built by the Qataris, the joint venture with the Qataris, is going to be ready early next year at $2 billion.
Yes.
And then the Qataris, they're going to supply aircraft to Rwanda Air. They're really going to help that economy in their country, right?
Yes.
$2 billion. The Adani Group say they're going to pay us $2 billion.
No.
For 30 years, and after those 30 years, they still have a stake in JKIA.
For how many?
And this is not a new airport they're building.
No.
This is the warehouse that we have that they're refurbishing.
The huge problem we have is that there are violent demonstrations happening in India right now against Adani. Adani is bankrupt in India. Adani, yes, there's serious demonstrations. You need to read about what's happening. You need to check the news. People are demonstrating against Adani. In India, nobody wants to hear that name. It's like there's a construction company here, I don't want to mention, that used to build funny roads, going to say that they are going to help Rwanda or Tanzania or Burundi. You know that construction company owned by some people from the mountain. So now what we need to do is ask ourselves, if India is having such serious demonstrations against Adani, why are we embracing these people? We are just a country, but I think also Kenyans have gotten tired. You know, the Kenya Kwanza administration is one, I think I would call it company, profit-making company for itself, that wakes up and decides to make all the horrible decisions, all the horrible ones. They leave the right ones, they just choose the horrible. So by the time you want to react, you wonder where to start. Actually, Kenyans want to demonstrate. But now you're wondering, do you demonstrate about their schools? Do you demonstrate about Adani? Everything they've done so wrong. They failed so horribly, they failed so miserably, that if Kenyans were to begin again demonstrations, they would have to plan night shift. You demonstrate during the day for this, during the lunch time for this, because everything they could have done wrong, they have done wrong. In fact, I have been asking Kenyans, tell us one thing that Kenya Kwanza has gotten right. Just one.
What answer do you get?
People scratch their heads mpaka nywele inaisha, because you really have to think. Even the government spokesman, go and ask him, tell us one thing you've done right.
Yeah. They have stabilized the shilling.
Against what? Itself. You can't come in when the dollar is at 121, take it to 160, then it comes back to 130, and then you tell us now, clap for me, we've stabilized the dollar. You found it at 121, shame on you.
The other day I went shopping for unga. I found it to be 130, 120.
Yes.
I was kind of surprised.
Sasa tunamesha economy ya Kenya na unga.
Jeff,
it's not an economic indicator.
The thing is, do we need to refurbish the airport? Yes.
Yes.
We need to.
Definitely.
We need to. Are we lagging behind in the region because of what is happening? You just said Kigali is building one. Ethiopia has already built one.
Yes.
Tanzania has built one.
Correct.
And so are we lagging behind? Yes.
Yes.
Is there a need for that refurbishment or a new airport? Yes.
Definitely.
The problem comes in when the whole deal is shrouded in secrecy. You know, yeah. And Kenyans don't know what is happening. And now unajua Kenya sio Rwanda. Kenya, we have to be carried along. You know, Rwanda unazaambiwa ni hivi and then inakuwa ni hivi. Hapa Kenya you have to carry us along. Hata kama even if you think you are who, you will have to carry us along. If you don't, we will not accept.
And if you deny,
we still will not accept.
Correct.
And so the thing is, the shrouding of secrecy, the secrecy that is shrouded in this deal is what is making us suspicious. If you're telling me that Adani is going to run the airport JKIA for 30 years, then after that 30 years they still have a stake in that
yes.
Airport again.
Correct.
Kwani
how stupid
can we be? Even if we're saying that if somebody is feeding, you can do it. No, there's things you say hapana. Because and if we wanted money to build that airport, we will get money.
Correct.
We will get money, and we can even do PPP and get money and build another airport or modernize that Jomo Kenyatta International Airport.
But you know, sometimes we are made to think that our airport is horrible. I mean, you've seen some of the airports abroad.
in Africa, yes.
Even abroad. Some of the airports in the US, Jeff, are not. I keep telling Kenyans, don't let a foreigner tell you that your airport looks bad. You can have an airport that doesn't look as good as those ones abroad, but functions hard. And let us move at our own pace. I mean, how will they know they've come to Africa if our airport looks like theirs? Let us move at our pace as a country. Let us get to a place where we tell people, please, when you come, our runways are okay. They don't have potholes. Where we receive you will be clean. It's not going to be leaking. And by the way, to fix a leaking roof, you don't need Adani. Kenyans can fix leaking roofs, okay? Let us move. And I'm telling you, if I was president in this country, and I will be, because God knows I will, the right time will come. We will not allow ourselves to have other people telling us what is correct for our country. We will tell them, yes. How else will you know if we've gotten to Africa if you don't find an airport that is not as good as yours? Ours will be clean, it will be simple, but it will be okay.
But the problem is...
And when we get the money, because the problem is you borrow, then you become a slave.
Yeah.
Your airport start looks like it's like, but there's nothing. In fact, if anything, these people who lend money, they only give you money when they've looked at your ability to pay. The reason Kenya is getting people interested in our airport is because they know we can pay them back with interest. Adani is coming here to make money. So in short, we have the money. We have the resources. If we were poor, have you had Adani trying to put up an airport in Somalia or Chad? They don't want. They don't want because those countries are incapable of paying them. They're incapable of recouping profits from those countries. So if we are capable of giving people money plus interest, it means that whatever they want to bring, even if it's 2 billion, they'll leave here with 5, 6, 7 billion. The university funding model. When he says that, like now, universities are planning to go on strike. Machakos was on the streets the other day, yesterday, I think. And there's something the senator for Kisii said, Onyonka, and I liked it. He said, explain to me this rubbish. Explain to me this nonsense where a mother with twins who did the same exam, finished the same year, got the same grades, filled in that form. I think it's a madness form. It's an insane form. Because you can't tell me two twins fill the form. They cite the same parents. They cite the same home, the same living conditions. One is put in bracket 1 and the other one is put in bracket 5. Now, and they even put the telephone numbers of the same parents. So that's why I'm telling you, this thing is nonsense. Absolute, total nonsense. That has never happened anywhere in the world. I think the Kenya Kwanza administration is a manifestation of how to even experiment on nonsense, on things that don't work, on things that cannot be implemented anywhere. How do you wake up and come up with a model that has not worked anywhere in the world? And you come and you start insisting that you want to work on this model. And it is, it's not making sense. Twins who cite the same father, same living conditions, same exam, same home. Then one is put in bracket 1 and the other one in bracket 5. And then you're being told it's a fantastic university funding model. It's fantastic Kenya Kwanza madness.
Abducting.
Yes.
Mwalimu,
but a presidential, at one point I considered voting for him.
Well, not only that, I think he beat Kalonzo.
He beat some people.
No, he beat
Musalia.
He beat Madhakarua.
Yes. He was a serious mwalimu bana. Sasa hii tena nasikia ati sijui anafanya stalking.
Ati stalking in
America. Stalking
America.
huko yes ni kama ni serious. Hapa DCI wanakustalk for 4 years na hakuna kitu tunaweza wafanyia.
Alafu kuna ingine inaitwa aggressive stalking.
I think he kept his beard.
Yeah.
And then maybe he wore a kofia that is not very exciting in the US. And then maybe he wore the white kanzu and then he followed somebody. So maybe maybe they gave him a title. Maybe they associated him with other things that I don't want to mention on TV.
Yeah, it is sad actually.
7 years.
7 years is not a short time.
Atatoka 29.
That's a long time. Sasa sijui kama
because he's been in for 2 already.
Now he's internationally famous. What?